Hello, beautiful soul. My name is Mara, and I welcome you to this pick a pile reading. This one's going to be all about shadow work. So, I do want to put a disclaimer that I am not a therapist. I am a psychic intuitive, and I will be delivering messages through the interpretations of these cards and the energy and messages that I receive via my intuition and psychic gifts. So, I also want to put a trigger warning that we will be discussing some pretty heavy topics surrounding trauma. And if you're not in a safe space, then please save this reading for a later time. You need to be in the right mental space to receive these kinds of things to avoid a further downward spiral or something potentially feeling harmful to you. So, with all of that being said, go ahead and take a moment to review each pile of cards, and then we are going to get into the crystals for each pile. Okay, so we have pile number 1, pile number 2, and pile number 3. And now we're going to get into the sound selection for those of you that would like to choose your pile clairaudiently. All right, if you need more time, go ahead and pause the video, or you are more than welcome to go back through the pile and crystal or the sound selection. But we're going to get started with pile number 1. All 3 readings are timestamped in the description, so you can find yours there, and I will see you at your reading. Hello, group number 1. Welcome to your reading. Let's get started with an affirmation and a reflection. So you got, I am courageous and will not be held back by fear. And then your reflection, and you're welcome to screenshot this or write it down. What do I need to do in moments of fear? How can I remind myself to stay grounded and focused on my goals? Okay. And it's interesting because you were drawn to the black kyanite, which is about finding groundedness and releasing toxic ties or or toxic patterns. So I wonder if fear has been a big contributor to the things in your life, like the way that you operate and show up in life. So let's move into your archetypal story. We're going to look at who you are, where you are, what tools are being provided to you, and why. The big why of why you found this reading, why you're interested in shadow work right now. So let's start with who you are. Okay, we have the maiden. This is a very innocent energy. It's very new. It's the first part of the trifecta of Mother, Maiden, Crone. And so she's a little bit inexperienced. And I mean that, and the reason I say it is because I wonder if this is your first time doing shadow work or it's your first time addressing a specific topic in your shadow work. And so you are looking to expand into the next level because the maiden faces challenges that are introducing her. They're kind of like an initiation for her to enter the next stage of development, so the mother stage. So I think that right now this feeling of newness surrounds you, and that's important. It's important to recognize where you are and where you start so that you can kind of have an idea of how you want to move forward. If you don't recognize the beginning, it's kind of hard to appreciate the full journey. Another message with this card is that you could be somebody that has struggled with addiction or is struggling with addiction. There is this sense that she really prefers pleasure over consequence. And with that being said, she does experience shame surrounding her pleasures. So if there are things that really bring you that fulfillment, that say drugs or alcohol or any kind of addiction, there's a lot of endorphins released in that process, and it's really easy, especially if you are susceptible to the disease of addiction, that it's so easy for your mind and your chemistry to be like, that's the thing that's going to help me. And perhaps you are on a journey of discovery where you're stepping outside of that, or if you're outside of it already, it's kind of like, what now? Who am I now? What can I bring to the table that's going to make me feel fulfilled without that following lingering feeling of shame? But she's also very pure, and I want to make it clear that, like, I mean, I went over some pretty heavy stuff, but she isn't all doom and gloom and irresponsible and risk-taking, and she's very pure and innocent and open-minded and, somebody that's very empathic and cares a lot about people and animals. And so I think that you are a very nurturing and beautiful soul. You just need, and you know, and intuitively, and that's why you're watching this reading right now, is that you need to discover some of the darkness too, because not everything is about this lighter, more beautiful picture. Okay, so let's move into where you are right now. We have the castle. So again, there is this sense of true beauty, and you have these roses here. In fact, they're actually identical, but we have this imagery of this really beautiful and um, luxurious feeling. But this card is a little bit deceiving because, and so is the castle itself. This talks about almost a feeling of trappedness, of maybe you are feeling trapped, or perhaps you are holding on to things too tightly and you are afraid to let go. You're afraid to open the doors of the castle, or perhaps you're feeling lost in the castle and you don't really know how to get out. And so the work of shadow work is really finding that path. Even though it may be dark, you are illuminating the path before you so that you can bring your fears to the surface, so that you can bring the parts of you that society says to hide away to the outside, and let those things transcend into existence, into being a part of you so that you're more whole. There's also this feeling of you maybe striving for perfection, like you kind of project one image. Like, the castle is very beautiful and strong. It's built of structure. There's a lot of perfectionism surrounding you. But what's on the inside is maybe it's an abandoned castle. Maybe you feel empty. Maybe there are some things that you don't want to show other people on the outside, but that are very strong and really troubling for you to hold onto and experience by yourself. So now moving into what tools you have, we have the kiss. Okay. So this is all about, and it kind of plays into what I just spoke of, this feeling of projecting an image. I wonder how insecure you are feeling when it comes to how other people perceive and if they want you. This is like, it's a very sensual card. It is about, like, having your first kiss, having that moment of excitement and reward in such a sensual way, but it's also like, what if they don't want me back? What if I'm not accepted? What if I'm not a good kisser? Like, that kind of what if and projection on other people, and really, really caring and worrying about what other people think about you. There's this message that you need to respect the beauty that you have to offer, and that is a developed, skill. That is a developed thing, and while you are, like I was saying, you are somebody who really, really cares about other people and animals and life in general, and so you care about other people and you appreciate their beauty, but it's almost like there's this block, there's this, um, door, there's this giant, gate that's really stopping you from taking a look at your beautiful aspects and saying, "That's me. Even though I hid this for so long and I've been so afraid to let it out, this is me. This is who I am, and I love that." And, I think that because this tool is coming out, this is something that you are really learning through the shadow work that you are doing right now, through the things that you're learning from your trauma processing. It's also important that you allow pleasure. And this kind of ties into that feeling that you experience pleasure, but it's followed by that sense of guilt. It's followed by some shame. And so this is also about allowing yourself the space to enjoy things and feel things thoroughly, to feel things really deeply within your body without it morphing into this, "Well, how could I?" or "That's not, um, that's not for me," or "I don't deserve that. I deserve something worse." And so I feel like once you kind of go inward and I'm seeing you like walking around this really damp, dark castle, and everything is really just, blank stone walls, and you're putting up all the decorations that you think are beautiful about yourself. It's like you're acknowledging and hanging up these pieces of yourself that you've really denied for a long time. And in the process of doing that, you're able to be like, "Well, wow, yeah, why haven't I done this before? Why haven't I appreciated this piece of me?" And it shouldn't be followed with that, "Oh my god, like, what have I missed because I haven't acknowledged this beauty?" It should be, "I'm so glad that I did the work, and I'm so glad that I feel deeply enough to be able to, really transform this guilted feeling that I've had into something beautiful and appreciated. I'm so glad that I am who I am." So now let's look at the why. Okay, you got gen genosis, I'm honestly not sure, but this card is all about true wisdom, and wisdom comes from experience, and so that's another thing that this maiden is kind of playing into is, like, you need I think that you want to be in one spot right now. You want to have all the answers. You want to be done with your trauma. You want to be on the other side of this journey that you are embarking on. But you have to take the steps. You have to move in a certain order in order to get to where you're wanting to go. You can't just skip ahead, even though, oftentimes a lot of people would really love to do that, and myself included. But there's this certain process that has to be respected, this beauty that has to be honored in order to get to your final destination. And please understand that healing is an ongoing process. There is no finish line. There is no final destination for you to put everything down and be like, "Okay, I've done my work. This is it." Healing is, and especially when it comes to trauma, it's something that will continuously circle back in your life for you to address. Okay, my microphone died, but as I was saying, these things will come back into your life periodically, and you will be learning things from a new perspective. And so I bring that up because I don't want you to, one, rush through your shadow work and your trauma processing so that you can get to the end. And I also don't want you to feel like there is a certain amount to be done. And if you are a perfectionist, especially, then it's like it'll be difficult for you to move on to the next thing if things aren't feeling absolutely complete. So take your time with shadow work, take your time with trauma processing because it is an ongoing spiral of learning, of reevaluating and adjustment. There's also a message here to really lean into your emotions. And yes, that is kind of obvious when it comes to shadow work. You are looking to experience some things that normally you don't, especially when it comes to darker emotions. But there, I feel as though you over intellectualize your emotional experience as a human, and that can be not damaging to your progress, but it can definitely limit how far you can go and how much you can learn from what is being offered to you. So there is this message to really feel and have an open heart. Yes, make sure that you're in a safe space. Make sure that you are emotionally and mentally equipped to feel things. Maybe you do need to have a therapist present. Maybe you need to have a safe friend or a loving pet present while you process things. But there is a message that it's important for you to actually feel these things so that they don't stay stuck and you don't just think about how you felt like in a traumatic event. You feel it, and from that place you really open your heart to true healing and um not just thinking about it and listening to it. So let's move forward. For your alchemy card, you received lead. So this energy, first and foremost, this could point to a Saturn return in your life. So there's something that could be going on with your Saturn placement that's really important and that you need to pay attention to or just look at and lean into. But outside of that, this element is extremely dense. And so it feels, and this is kind of where that don't rush through your work is coming in again, because this speaks to slowness. It speaks to heavy, you know, dense. It's like you're walking through mud. You're walking through quicksand or something that's like very difficult, and you have to move slow because the quick movements keep you stuck, you know? And so, with that being said, you can use this element in your life to your advantage. There is this message that is on the other side of the coin where it's like, use that heaviness to get grounded, to weigh yourself down and allow for a really um, a smooth and stable foundation. Allow yourself to really walk through this journey of self discovery with a heaviness that you are using, that you are in charge of. Yes, it may feel heavy, it may be dark, it may be hard to move, but you get to move at your own pace. You don't have to rely on other people's stories and other people's progress to determine where you're supposed to be. So, yes, there is a long journey ahead, but healing is a forever process. So, there's no rush. There's really no rush, and you have the you have the element on your side, the groundedness to be able to handle and address these things. So, next we have the child I was meant to be. And so this is the full moon, so there may be some things coming up for you at the next full moon, but it feels it feels very much like you are gently taking a look at what is growing within this darkness. It's like you are germinating. You're in the germination process right now, the stage that is all about new growth, and there's that new energy again. But it's feeling very much like this is such a delicate and tender subject. And so it's important that you do hold it with the utmost love and compassion. There is this feeling that you need to be gentle with yourself and gentle with the topics that you are looking to explore. And when you allow for that kind of space, when you allow yourself to hold the energy for yourself, it's like you can fully, and your inner child can fully express what you need to. I also, there's this message that this card speaks of in its little booklet, and it says, even if it is gone, it was definitely here. So I feel like there are some things that you you really wanted as a child that you were denied of, potentially by your guardians, or that you have slowly kind of distanced yourself or separated yourself from as you've gotten older and more influenced by society. But it's feeling very much like your inner child is reaching out through this reading and through the shadow work that you're working on and saying, remember this, remember that, remember how that felt. And it's in and they are asking to be felt, to have a felt experience. And so some inner child work would definitely benefit you at this time, looking back at your younger years, or maybe even doing some regression therapy, some past life therapy. And so that may be something that you want to look into if that resonates. But it feels like this is a very delicate and sensitive topic for you, and so I want to applaud you for really taking the time to listen to this reading and listen to what you need, because that's going to benefit you so much moving forward in this journey. Your your experience is going to bring so much love and compassion to others and in their experience that they will be able to heal from things because of you almost. And I don't want you to feel responsible. You do your thing, but it just feels like you will be inspiring people in the future, or if not right now, to really take a look and be gentle with themselves. So next we have doable. The key is within your grasp. Yes, it is. The thing that stands out to me the most about this card is the fact that she has to reach through glass in order to grab the key. So that's such a beautiful imagery of what shadow work is like. You are reaching through pain, you are reaching through the darker things, and you are processing things that really they can be extremely painful. And because of that, because you are changing the narrative, you're changing the cycle, you are quite literally healing generational curses and cycles. You are reaching for the key to open a new path for yourself. You, by doing this kind of work and acknowledging your path in your healing journey, you are creating a new path for yourself and for generations to come after you. That's beautiful. So acknowledge the pain. Again, there's that message that you need to feel what's coming up for you, because yes, you are achieving a lot, but don't deny yourself of the pain that you experienced in order to get there. We have two oracles left. We may pull some tarot, but it depends. I'm not really feeling like we need to. But first up, we have trusting tricksters. The trickster's only power is your trust. You are always free to withdraw it. So when it comes to trauma, this card is actually all about grooming. And so oftentimes I feel like that's associated with sexual things, and that may be the case for you. But if that doesn't resonate, if that doesn't apply to your life, this can also speak to somebody who has been groomed by society, somebody who has been groomed by their parents to be and behave a certain way, and really make space and acknowledge only other people's feelings. So you don't get to have room to be who you are, and that keeps you in line. That keeps them in charge, and it creates this dynamic, this power dynamic that leaves you feeling like nothing. And so maybe there are these things that as a child you really had, for your own safety, had to let go of and say, I can't express this. It will get me in trouble. It will get me hurt. And that's such a horrible thing to have to do. That's such a heartbreaking thing to have to do. And now it's like the universe is reminding you that you aren't in that space anymore, that you are in a safe, loving body. I'm feeling an adult, and you have the power to reach back in time through your thoughts and take care of yourself the way that that little person, that little kid deserved to be treated. And that's so powerful, and it deserves to really, I just like not I wanna say, like, I wanna give you an award, like, it's just it but it's that sounds so stupid and silly, but it's like, you deserve to have the recognition and the honor the honoring of having that experience of healing something that is already in your past. It's already said and done, but you get to explore it and really take the time to rearrange how it went. And that's not to say that we're denying ourselves of what actually happened. We're not literally changing history, but you can change your beliefs about something. You can look at that kid that you used to be and say, you deserved this. You deserved something better. And in my mind, I'm going to give that to you. Even if I can't change the past, even if I can't change what's happened to me and how little room I gave or I was given to express myself and my needs, I'm going to give that to me now. And I'm going to look within and I'm going to listen. And I'm not going to abandon you, my inner child. That's powerful. Okay, moving on to our last oracle, we have Eternal Gatekeeper. Acknowledge, assert, and protect what is right for you. Okay. This really feels like boundaries are going to be your best friend. And for somebody that has gone through, I'm sure, a lot of disrespect and having to walk on eggshells, that can be difficult. But she is calm. She has her eyes closed. She's waving this stick around, this wand, and it's powerful. She is powerful and she knows what is right for her. And so your guides and the universe are really telling you, you are so much more powerful than you have been groomed to believe, than maybe you believe right now. But you have the power to take control of your life and assert your boundaries where they are necessary. And you get to decide where they are necessary. And boundaries, I want to be clear, aren't going to look like um they aren't I feel like society typically says like boundaries are about removing yourself entirely from something, but it's actually giving the responsibility to the other person. It's saying, when you do this, this is how I feel. And as a result, as a consequence to your actions of making me feel that way, this is how I'm going to respond. So, for example, I don't like when you yell at me. That triggers me. It makes me feel small. And I don't find it beneficial to our communication. So when you yell at me, I'm going to leave. I'm going to remove myself from the situation. We can continue the conversation when we're both more calm or when you decide to stop yelling and raising your voice. But I'm going to set a boundary and just let you know now that I'm not going to engage with you if you are raising your voice at me. So there's like this level of learning what kind of boundaries and how you want to set boundaries with people. And please be patient with yourself because that can be so overwhelmingly scary when you're first starting. But the people that love you and that respect you will not have a problem with these boundaries. They genuinely will not. And yes, of course, like people's feelings can be hurt by, like, oh, well, like I didn't realize that I was doing that. I feel stupid. But when it comes to you, they'll be like, oh, wow, even though I have my own opinions about this, I never want you to feel that way. Thank you so much for caring enough about our relationship to really guide me in loving you, to guide me in how you want to be loved and treated. So again, there's that feeling of excuse me. There's that feeling of needing to appreciate your beauty. And I want to point out whenever my throat gets clogged during a reading, it's typically because it's difficult for the the person that I'm reading for to speak up about something. And so this again, take your time, don't rush. You don't have to go from 0 to 100. There is a learning experience and you will gain the strength to set these boundaries. But there is this feeling that you are so powerful and it will take time for you to recognize that power, but eventually you will kind of relax into it. It'll kind of feel like second nature. It'll feel like you're doing things and operating from a space natural of naturalness. So, wow. I don't feel like we need to pull any tarot. I think that this was a thorough enough reading. It feels very much like you are starting a very beautiful and sincere inner journey. Your inner child is present and they look to you. Again, we have the full moon and Saturn present in your reading, so you may want to pay attention to those planets. We also have this energy of stuckness or having to reach through a really painful thing to get to the other side. So make sure that you're acknowledging anything that's coming up for you. And just to remind you, your affirmation is I am courageous and will not be held back by fear. So even though this is like this dark, scary, looming thing, it's shadow work and it's meant to be dark. There are there are stars in the sky in the night. So make sure that you are taking your time, that you don't rush things, that you don't fall victim to the narrative that whoever was in charge growing up gave you. It is not true. You are beautiful, strong, powerful, and influential. And most of all, you are compassionate and loving and gentle. So, I hope that this reading brought you clarity and or comfort, and I hope that you take care of yourself along your journey and you really find that peace that this woman really feels. You are amazing and worthy of change. I love you. Blessed be. Hello, group number 2. Welcome to your reading. We're going to start with an affirmation and a reflection, and then we will move into some oracle. So, for you, your affirmation is my heart is open. And the reflection, which you can screenshot or write down, what can I do to open my heart a little bit more today? Who can I show more love to? I love this. It's really important in shadow work to keep a very open heart, to keep your mind open as well, and to allow yourself to feel what you need to feel so that you thoroughly learn from the work that you are doing. So, first, we're going to start with your archetypal story. So, this is going to tell me who you are, where you are in your journey, what tools you have available to you, and why. The big why do you feel drawn to shadow work and why are you embarking upon this journey? So, starting out with who you are. Wow. Okay. The poet is honestly really in my opinion, from this whole deck, like um the person that represents shadow work the most, because they are the one in this world that really sees the darkness. They have experienced the darkness. They've experienced a lot of troubled experiences, and they have the ability to then take that darkness and transmute it to something beautiful, into poetry. There is also this energy about them that they are often misunderstood or not taken seriously. So, before we really get into it, I want you to know that I take you seriously. I take your experiences seriously. And I think that what you've been through is valid and that you and your existence is valid. You play an extremely important part and an extremely important role in human life. Without your existence, the world just wouldn't be the same. It just wouldn't be. And your gifts, though they may be difficult and seemingly unfair, it they are a tremendous part of co-creation and the way that the universe unfolds. What else do we feel? I feel like you are being called to reflect in maybe a deeper way. This isn't your first time with shadow work. This isn't your first time really diving deep within. And that's because one, you haven't had a choice. You've had to look deep within. There's just no other way around it for you. And I feel like now you're at a point where you're starting to reflect on some things that maybe are a lot deeper or a lot more meaningful to your healing progress rather than just examining the darkness, if that makes sense. It's like your goal is more about healing from this rather than just seeing it, just observing. Okay, let's move into where you are right now. Okay, we have the storm. So you can think of this like the tower card in tarot. This is a very dismantling, deconstructing, rearranging kind of energy. And so it does feel like things are really chaotic for you right now. And that's probably why you are searching for more of a meaning in your healing progress over just like, let me look at this and I'll deal with it later. I'll acknowledge it, but we'll feel it later. This is like, okay, I've come to a point where I really do need to sit down, process my emotions and feel what I need to feel so I can get through this and not only get through it, but build something more stable in the future. I feel like right now you're kind of laying the emotional groundwork for you to walk on and live through later. I feel like you are also deconstructing some belief systems. This can be a pretty powerful experience and not in the best way. When we have our belief systems shattered, it is almost like we have to rewrite who we are and how we show up in this world. And that can be a really daunting experience. And so, shadow work will absolutely help you to really get there. And I want you to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people that know how challenging this time is for you, that they know not just, circumstances aren't that great right now, but that you deeply need support, that you deeply need people who are going to see you for you and take your experiences and your emotions seriously because it's important while you develop new belief systems and develop new habits and lean towards new things as a result of changes that are happening in your life and from the shadow work that you are doing that they support those actions. They don't hold you back. They don't try and change your mind about things. They just simply witness you existing and allow you to be. You need people that are going to hold the space for you is what I'm saying. So, even though this is really, I'm sure, causing a lot of anxiety for you, this changing momentum is probably stirring up a lot of fears for you. Know that a after the storm is the calm. There is the calm before and there's the calm after. The storm is not permanent, it is temporary, and it serves very good purpose. While maybe that is hard to recognize in the moment and while you are in the midst of it, there is a certain level of divine timing that comes to play with the storm. So, the tools that you have available to you, we have the vessel. So, this card is all about what holds you together. What are you holding together? Are you holding it together? And so on. It's about recognizing how you really channel your energy, you channel your emotions, and what you keep inside. What do you fill your vessel with? And this can also point to really either one of two things: having too much in your cup, like it's overflowing and there's no more room, you can't fit any more in, too much is happening, you're overwhelmed, and it's just like, I can't do it anymore. Or it's like an empty cup, and the saying, like, you can't pour from an empty cup. So you really need to find that balance and look at what you're ingesting. What are you physically eating? What are you physically drinking? What news are you ingesting? What media and comments and pictures and things are you looking at? And how does that impact you? How does it make you feel? Because I feel like there's this idea from this card coming through that, like, you need to focus on how things are impacting you a little bit deeper, um, a little bit more than just the surface level. And from there, you can decide what you want to take with you moving into this next cycle and how it's impacting you, because you feel things very deeply. And I think that you've had to kind of learn how to separate yourself almost, and not allow yourself to feel things so deeply, but it's still there subconsciously. So even if you think something's not really impacting you, it very well could be. There's also a sense I'm feeling like there's a big cycle changing. There's a big thing happening that's going to mark the ending of something, and maybe you need a different cup. Maybe you need a different vessel, and that could be um changing things in your lifestyle, like creating an exercise program for yourself, or leaning into new um, clothing, maybe just maybe changing your appearance, but it also doesn't have to be so surface level. Again, it could also go deeper. Maybe you are um, trans and you need to recognize something about that and lean into that. So it's really up to you and what you're resonating with, but there definitely feels like there's some kind of cycle ending when it comes to you and your vessel. So either you physically or the way that you operate in this world, via your cup being too empty or too full. There's something's about to change for you. And obviously, with the storm being like the tower card, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory, but explore that. Explore what that feels like for you when I talk about that, because there's something to look deeper there. I don't think that me personally, I'm supposed to go too in depth in it. It feels kind of like a touchy, sensitive subject, that maybe you're not ready to explore, but just feel in your body what that brings up for you. So then we have the why. We have Kairos, and I hope I'm saying that right. But this card, it's really all about that divine timing that I had mentioned. And it's okay to recognize that things are not in your control. Things are the circumstances that you have in your life, you didn't attract them because you wanted them. You attracted them as a result of evolving, of living, of existing. And it's not your fault that things are happening like they are. It is of your creation to attract change and to attract a new, something better, a different, more fulfilling path for yourself. And I think that that is what you are receiving from this. There's a lot of intuitive messages that I'm getting for, like, you are receiving a lot of intuitive messages, and I don't know if you've always been inclined to follow them. Perhaps that is something kind of new to you, or that you don't typically trust your intuition, that it's hard for you to differentiate between anxiety and what feels like a no in your gut. There is a balance and it takes practice. That's really, there's no specific answer. Some people's intuition feels calm and quiet. Some people's intuition feels loud and strong. So it's just a matter of getting to know you and getting to know your own impulses to really understand what means what. And you can talk with the universe, you can talk with your spirit guides and open yourself up to messages and specific messages, get clear about how you want to communicate with them. There's also a message that, like, with that, that it's important you don't rely too much on outside opinions and outside guidance, because I feel like you're going to know what's best when it comes to how to heal in your trauma processing. There's something that I feel as though you don't share the whole picture of you. And so it's hard for people to give you, perfect advice or something along those lines. And so it's really going to be up to you to find the answers that you're seeking. I'm getting a message that you need to be more gentle with yourself, that this is a really chaotic time and a lot of chaotic energy and a lot of what feels like a forceful kind of thing happening. And when you give yourself grace and compassion, it really opens the door and it opens your heart to feeling things more deeply, to allowing more compassionate people in your life, to allowing more pleasant feeling circumstances, and so on. So try your best, whatever that looks like in each moment, because it will change, to align with stuff that keeps you feeling open, that keeps your mind open, and that allows you to be a little kinder, a little gentler with yourself. Okay, so let's move into your alchemy card. You have sulfur. So this is part of a trifecta of mind, body, and soul. So it feels like you are achieving one piece of the puzzle through this trauma work, through this shadow work. And it's such an important piece. And no, it's not the whole puzzle, but I think that you need to recognize where you are in your journey and that it is okay that you don't have all the answers. Doing shadow work is not about finding all of the answers, it's simply about bringing the shadow aspects of you to the surface to see. And, you get that with a geyser. The geyser's job is to push up and out. And so it feels like something is like, I'm getting the image of like a vulture kind of regurgitating, and it just feels like you need to let something out. There's something that is, I hear it, eating you alive that you need to release. And it is okay if you can't do that right now, if you can do it in private, or if you can do it with a safe person like a therapist or even an animal that you love. It feels very much like you just need to get something out. And even if it seems ugly, even if what you have to say or what you have to express feels scary, know that everything has two sides. Everything. And so in the beauty of the things that you find joy in, there's always going to be something dark about it. And vice versa. There's always going to be something beautiful and sparkly in the ugly mess. So don't assume that you just need to throw it all away or not acknowledge it at all just because it doesn't look great. This also speaks to allowing the difficult times to exist, because on the other side of them, there will be a change of season, a change of weather, and you will make it out. And I'm hearing, I'm hearing the word gift. I don't know if that's speaking to you specifically about like maybe your intuition, and maybe you do have some psychic gifts that are asking to be awakened right now, or if it's a literal thing that you will receive soon. But the word gift is popping out in my mind right now. So I think that's all I have for that card. So moving forward, we have hiding your true self. Wow. And so this is the third quarter moon. So there may be something happening for you during the third quarter. You can look up on Google, when that is. This, again, feels like you have something inside of you that you just need to talk about, that you need to speak into the world so that it doesn't have as much power. I feel like the more that you keep it inside, the more you're kind of stuck in this echo chamber. And it's going to get louder and it's going to get more intense and it's going to feel stronger until you talk about it, until you really let it out. And so, yes, start by going within, start by saying it to yourself, start by acknowledging it and looking at it, but then let it out. Your cup is too full. There's something that needs to come out so you can have room to let things in. Also, actually, before we move on to this, I'm getting another message with this mirror type portal thing in the background. It kind of feels like in social situations, I feel as though you tend to really project, like you are projecting who they are, or whoever you're interacting with, you just be who they are and you try to mirror them as best you can instead of acknowledging and expressing who you are and what your beliefs and so on. And so there is another message that is a little bit more, it's like a long-term practice, is letting your true self out, letting your thoughts and opinions be heard, because your voice really matters. The things that you have to say really matter. And if you haven't really believed that before, then it's going to be difficult at first, but you will get a hang of it. Just like it was difficult for you to really see beauty in the darkness. And that may be something that you still struggle with, but it's feeling very much like as long as you keep practicing what you want to feel, you will feel it. So then we have Enoia. I'm really not sure how to say that. Everything in perfect balance. There feels like this freedom in your heart, that there is something that will spark that change, that bodily or energetic change that you are seeking. It feels like you are in touch with yourself more, even though you are wrapped in these thorns. It's like, yes, I have painful experiences. Yes, I have a darkness to me, but I am also beautiful. But I am this and that, and I am multidimensional, and I bring beauty to what people perceive as just darkness. And that is an extreme power and an extreme gift to have. And while it is difficult to really own and to really practice, it is something that is mine and I get to do that. There's also a feeling with everything in perfect balance. It's like, again, you want your cup to constantly be pouring out, filling up, pouring out, filling up. So you need to make sure that you are monitoring what you're holding on to and if you're holding on to anything too tightly, because everything needs an ebb and a flow. Everything needs a push and a shove. This card also speaks of a push and a shove. So don't forget to let things out, let things go, hold the space for your emotions, and really learn to process your emotions. Okay. Moving forward, we have responding, not reacting. So, upon what I literally just said, processing your emotions, this card is literally all about that. The only control we have is in how we respond to the hand we are dealt. So, obviously, like I was saying, you didn't choose the storm. You didn't choose to go into this very chaotic moment, and you didn't choose the past hurts that you have. And that's something to acknowledge and to know that you wouldn't put yourself in harm's way. And I think that perhaps somebody has created a narrative in your life and you were too young to know any different, and so you had to believe it. You had to believe, like, you I'm hearing somebody saying you love to watch things crash and burn. You love drama. You're so toxic. You do this and you're such a drama queen. You're such this, and it's like, no, you're a literal child and you have big emotions and you're feeling things deeply, and your guardian did not have the emotional maturity to guide you in the right direction so that you could learn to process your emotions. And so now you're kind of revisiting. It's like this is your inner child growing up, and this is your inner child now that you're connecting with through the shadow work, and you are able to really hold them and be like, I know you didn't get it. I know you didn't get the chance to process what you needed to. You were shut out, told to go to your room until you figured it out. But we didn't have the tools. We were not given the tools. And so we had to figure it out on our own. But now I'm here. I'm going to connect with you. I will not abandon you. I will not remove myself because it's just too difficult, because I don't care. You do care. You really do care. And that shows through who you are as the poet. You have a lot of inner child work to do, um, surrounding processing emotions. I am, again, not a therapist. I would never try to diagnose you, but you may want to consider looking into CPTSD. It's complex post traumatic stress disorder, and that may be extremely beneficial to you. But overall, this card speaks to learning how to process your emotions and recognizing that it's not your fault that you don't know how to do that, because that's taught. That is literally your parents' job or your guardian's job. Whoever you were around as a child was supposed to guide you in processing your emotions. So, our last oracle, we have circles. Clarity begins in the eye of the storm. That is such an amazing synchronicity. And also with Kairos, we have the eye right here. Wow. Clarity begins in the eye of the storm. I feel like the eye of the storm is your center, your heart center, your intuition. This is really powerful in the way that it speaks um, towards trusting yourself, towards trusting the divine timing of things, because you are willing to learn and you're willing to experience what you need to, because you know it's going to give you more fuel to create more beautiful things. That's the thing about contrast, if you will. The thing about the darker times in our lives is it creates an opportunity for us to get clear about what we want. And so it really feels like, even though this storm is happening around you, once you let out what you need to and you find your center, because I feel like it's being jumbled around by everything that you're holding in so tightly. Once you release and let that out, you will be able to kind of get grounded inward. You'll be able to create from your center, from this space that feels really whole, instead of just kind of aimlessly reaching for the next best feeling thing. You are creating and reaching for what feels good from a place of knowing, from a place of knowing your worth. And that is powerful. Acknowledge the cycle that you are going through. Acknowledge the circle. Life is not a series of just repeating things, it's a spiral. You're always moving forward and you're always moving up and out. And yes, we do repeat things, but it's like a spiral doesn't just lay flat, if that makes sense. Like, it's moving up. And every time you revisit a lesson, you're learning it from a new perspective. You're learning new things. You're getting clearer about what you want. You're healing different things, and you're making tremendous progress and beautiful progress. The energy of the poet is one of my favorites, and yet it's so, honestly, I'm going to use the word tragic, because it's a hard person to be. It's a hard personality uh, to embody, to really have, f and for it to be you. It's a beautiful thing to witness, but it's not always a beautiful thing to experience, is what I'm getting at. Overall, I think that you should look into CPTSD and perhaps some somatic movement to help you get into a place where you can release what you have stuck inside you, or to help you get to a place where you can process your emotions. But overall, the shadow work that you are doing is revolving around your inner child, your emotional processing skills, and letting out whatever this is talking about, letting out whatever thing that feels like you're keeping in because you feel it's a shameful thing to talk about, or it's a shameful aspect of you, which is just not the case. And you will learn that through shadow work. You will learn that through emptying and refilling your cup and deciding what you want your cup to look like. So keep your heart open, keep it open, and as best as you can. And again, your best will shift and change and evolve as you go through this journey of processing your trauma. Stay patient with yourself as things are changing around you. You don't have to always respond, with the best thing. You don't always have to be the better person. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to lash out a little bit. Take responsibility for your actions, but know that you are valid and you are taken seriously here on my channel. And you should surround yourself with people that take you seriously as well. I hope that you found this reading insightful and helpful and or comforting, all of the above hopefully, but I love you and I'm sending you all of the healing energy. I hope that you find peace and happiness in your shadow work journey. I am proud of you for taking these big steps and recognizing where you are in your journey. And it's a big deal. You're a big deal. You are valid and your experiences are valid. I wish you all the best. Blessed be. Hello, group number 3. Welcome to your reading. Let's start with an affirmation and a reflection for you. So, I am allowed to say no. In your reflection, which you can screenshot or write down, how have I taken on more than I can handle in the past? What can I do to remind myself to not overfill my cup in the future? Yeah, it's really, really important, especially if you are processing big emotions and dealing with trauma, that you take care of yourself and you stay true to what aligns with you. You don't always have to say yes in order for people to like you. And absolutely, that is easier said than done. It's it's a trauma response to people please, and it takes some time and effort and practice to get out of that. So we're going to look at your archetypal story. So we're going to see who you are, where you are, what tools are available to you right now, and why. The big why of why you're interested in shadow work, why you're being drawn to this reading at this time, and so on. So, starting off with who you are, okay, we have the judge. Immediately, this tells me that you have probably developed hypervigilance in your life. This, when it comes to trauma in your past, specifically your childhood, I feel as though you had to really pay attention to how people perceived you, paid attention to people's minor cues so that you could stay in line, so that you could stay safe and protect yourself from getting in trouble or getting physically hurt or this or that. So that definitely creates this feeling of hypervigilance in adulthood that really can feel like it's ruining relationships. It feels exhausting. It feels like, why don't you care as much as I do? Why doesn't this angry thing, this thing that's angering me, piss you off as much as me? Or why doesn't this thing that feels so deeply to me feel the same to you? Why? And it's because not everybody has had to go through that experience of needing to always assess what your guardian was going to do next. Always pay attention to little micro movements in the face or the body. Not everybody has had to do that and had that experience. And so it's really hard to accept that. Um, and it's really hard to exist knowing that not everybody's going to care as deeply or pay attention as thoroughly as you do. Um, it also is a bit of a curse in a way. It's a heavy burden to to have, and I'm sure that your friends love it, that your partner loves it for the most part. It can be extremely, damaging to relationships, but they love being paid attention. They love that you know them to a T. They love all of these things that you feel are heavy, but they feel like, "Oh, it's just your personality, it's just who you are." The other aspect of this is obviously a judgmental aspect. So this could be an outward thing, an outer critic that you perceive people in a really judgmental light, or it could really speak to how you perceive and talk to yourself. You are an extreme perfectionist, that you are not kind to yourself. You are not allowing for mistakes and for little ripples of imperfections, if that makes sense. The thing that gets the judge out of this place of constricting ideas, this really black and white kind of thinking, is love, is opening your heart, is choosing yourself, um, choosing to keep your heart open, even if it's painful, and allowing that feeling of love to persist through judgment. And that is 100% a practiced thing. You can't expect yourself to be perfect at it right away. I know that especially if that inner critic is really loud, it's going to be difficult to accept that, but just do your best, whatever that looks like. So, where are you? We have the dead end. So, yes, this card does speak of a dead end, of something not panning out, something is not going your way. No matter how hard you push, it's just going to cause more struggle. But this also heavily speaks of a new beginning, of something starting, because every single door has two sides, every single door. And once you acknowledge that what's done is done and you can't make it exist longer, then you really step forward. Then you really open the door, you turn the knob, you peek inside, and you take in what's in front of you, and you take in this next chapter of your life. What else? It's it's feeling very much like you're fighting against the laws of nature, the laws of the universe, in order to prove a point, to be perfect. And and I think that by diving into shadow work, you're really going to find a place of acceptance, a place of, okay, I don't have to be perceived in any certain way in order to have fulfillment. I don't have to force my way through something and say yes, yes, yes when I mean no, 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 when my body is telling me no, in order to be loved and in order to like life, to like it. You don't have to always love life, and that's another feeling I'm getting from this, is that perhaps you are struggling with some depression, and am not a therapist. Again, I wouldn't diagnose you. I'm just saying that this feeling of kind of giving up, this feeling of, what is the point of, I'm surrounded by darkness, I don't even know, I can't even see the way forward. And it's because you're facing a door. You're not meant to see any more forward, because there's nowhere else to go except for through. You have to go through onto into the other side of this cycle. There's something ending, basically, is what this card is saying. And that ending needs to be honored and respected and not judged and you and your process in this ending needs to not be judged as well. And I think that that is absolutely something that you will gain through shadow work and through processing some things that are coming up for you. So, the tools available to you, we have the seed. Okay. I'm feeling like, again, and it's really I mean, it's a beautiful synchronicity that we have both of these cards because the seed is the beginning. The tool that you have available to you right now is planting the seed, is getting started, taking the first step, allowing the ending and the beginning to exist simultaneously. That is a challenging thing to do, and yes, it can be done, but it's going to require some focus. It's gonna require you to say yes to things, and to say no, to really just be authentic with you and what makes sense for you. There's also this kind of feeling that you can't rush this. You can't rush a seed to grow. You can't stand over it and just expect it to grow into a full plant the next day. It's like you have to tend to it. You have to nurture it. You have to water it. You have to plant the right plant it in the right area. Some seeds plant better um, in cold environments. Some seeds plant better in warm and humid environments. So it's like find what's best for you, align with the people and the places that feel best for you in your body, and begin there. Don't try and plant your seed in this dark, judgmental ending. Plant it in an open environment, in a place that perhaps you've never really explored before, and that will come from doing shadow work, from exploring parts of yourself that you don't typically accept, that you don't typically um, want to acknowledge. And I just noticed like the symbology of this is really interesting. It's like the shadow parts of this card, it's like you're saying no to it, but then part of you is like, yeah, I'm going to open my hand up to you. I'm going to take your hand and I just heard like the line from the Barbie movie, like take my hand and feel. It's like you're giving yourself an opening to explore some things that you don't typically allow yourself to, that you don't typically want to look at. And that's beautiful. That's true power. That's true control. And that's true perfectionism if there ever was one. But whatever's building is really going to be a full thing. It's going to be a fully developed idea and a destination. There I feel like there's something really, really beautiful coming out of whatever you're laying the ground for work for now. So allow yourself, yes, to experience an ending, but know that it's okay to have hope. It's okay to have this little, even if it's small, like this little tiny feeling of, okay, maybe things will be better. Maybe I can allow myself to think about possibly, accepting myself or accepting this or accepting that, or, move forward at your pace and don't rush it. Even when you're feeling agitated, pull back and say, no, I'm not going to rush myself. I'm not going to judge myself. I'm not going to make excuses and say, you know, I need to be doing it this way because this is how somebody else did it, or this is how somebody else said to do it. Even me, take what resonates and leave the rest. So your why is Anima Mundi. And I hope that I'm saying that right. I always have a hard time pronouncing all of these last cards. They're such, I don't know. Anyways, so we have this Anima Mundi energy, and this card is literally all about accepting all and rejecting none, which, you're gonna, this is such perfect energy for you as the judge to have, because it really takes you to that space of uncomfortableness, which shadow work should provide. It's not all supposed to be uncomfortable, but there is supposed to be this level of acknowledgement for the darkness or the scary or uncomfortable things, so that we can bring them to the surface. We can transcend them into who we are and carry them with us and hold them in our heart. So this is everything, all of it, everything all at once, all the time. And it's not rejected. It's not judged. It's not pushed away because it is or it isn't one way. And that is like a very unhuman thing. It is very natural of humans to judge, and that's a good thing. We're supposed to have a certain level of acceptance and rejection. So don't get too attached to the idea of accepting everything, because then it'll feel exhausting, honestly. But it definitely feels like your diversity needs to be celebrated. What is different about you is perfectly imperfect. And you will definitely find that through shadow work. There's also a message with this card that talks about existential crisis. So, this feeling of like, you know, coming to this end, maybe this felt like an extremely permanent thing to you. And now that it's ending, it's like, what is even the point? What is even out there for me? Who am I? It's like this stripping away of your entire belief system, your entire identity, and having to rebuild from a seed. And that's hard work. That's difficult work. And it should be really honored inside of your body and inside of your mind, because it's heavy. That's heavy work. I'm thinking, what else is coming through? I feel like with you sitting here in the middle, it's like the universe is saying, get grounded through all of this. Get grounded in this feeling of acceptance and let your light shine, because you are a very I feel like you are typically a very light-hearted or a bright person. Like, people see you as like a radiating light and they love that about you, but you don't treat yourself that way. And so the universe is saying, allow that light to transcend you. Ooh, as you're stepping into the shadow work, allow your light to guide you through that darkness. That's intense. That's powerful. Okay, moving forward, we have your alchemy card, the uncreated. Another beautiful synchronicity. So this is the seed of the seed. And and it speaks all about the in between of these two. So everything in our physical existence was once vibrational. And there is this idea of things before they come into our physical world. And I think that the universe is giving you this card so that you can really lean into what that looks like for you. There is a spiritual teacher. I don't suggest getting too invested in their teachings. I don't suggest getting too invested in any spiritual teacher. But Abraham Hicks, or Esther Hicks, channels Abraham Hicks. And they talk about a vortex. And that's where, I mean, this is just an example of like something that you can tangibly hold in your mind, but it's like when you think of something, when you vibrationally feel something, it goes into your vortex and it's there. And when you align with certain things in your physical reality, then it creates more. And as you experience contrast and darkness in life, then it creates more. And certain things come down from your vortex into your physical reality. Now, that's very woo woo, but if you feel inclined, then start taking a look at What was once an idea in your life that you have created for yourself? What was once simply just a feeling that you had before it came? And really embrace that in between moment, because there is an in between. It does exist. And it's important to learn from it, to learn where your vibration lies in all of this beginning and ending and ending and beginning. It definitely just feels like, also as a lighter message, just to embrace your ideas. Trust your intuition and trust that you have the right ideas about things moving forward, and that your ideas will create your reality for the better. So, moving forward, we have the temple of my body. So, this is the first quarter moon. There may be something happening for you during the first quarter. You can Google when that will be. You are most likely claircognizant, um, and that is the having the gift of knowing, of just you just know things, and that's another confirmation that you should trust your ideas, even if it feels like, like, well, that's just like a thought that just came in. It's not just a thought. Like, once you start to lean into your intuition, and again, in this meditative pose, maybe this is talking about you connecting with your spirituality a little bit more, but it's really speaking to trusting your gifts. And if that's too, again, woo woo for you, that's totally fine. But it feels like you should definitely trust your body. Trust that you have everything that you need inside of you. And there's also a message with this card that you don't have to hide your body. You don't have to feel shame about the body that you exist in, even though society would love to tell you different, or would love to make you feel different. Excuse me. There is this feeling that nurturing your body and taking care of this body that you are gifted in is paramount to your shadow work. I feel like if you are to start anywhere, start with eating foods that make you feel good, eating foods that make you feel like you're nurturing more than just, putting food in your body so you can live, so you can stay alive. And of course, with how expensive groceries are, especially if you're, in the US, it's totally understandable if you can only eat junk food. But eat it with intention, say a prayer over it, say a little magical spell, do something to make yourself align with that energy of nurturing. There's also this feeling that perhaps, and again, I'm not a therapist, I wouldn't diagnose, but there is this is feeling kind of like body dysmorphia or gender dysphoria. So that may be something that you want to explore in your shadow work. Those can be very difficult things to wrap your head around alone. So, getting help from a therapist or somebody that is experienced in that realm is probably going to be very beneficial for you. But overall, take care of your body. It's the only body that you have, and even if you don't love it completely right now, you still you still are responsible for at least taking care of it. So then we have phenomenon. Be still and listen to the spirits. Okay, again, that claircognizance is coming through, and okay, maybe it's not too woo woo for you. Maybe you are a little woo woo. Maybe you do really align with the spiritual side of things, and your guides are saying meditate, turn inward, let this shadow work teach you some things that you just wouldn't or couldn't learn from an outside experience, from society, and you'll be surprised at where you are led. I feel like with this eye kind of lit up by the sun, this light in the background. It's like you have one eye in your shadow world and one eye in the outer world, and you're able to really navigate some territory that you're not really used to navigating. All right. You are full of synchronicities, and I'm sure that you are seeing a lot of signs as you enter this new cycle. So we have the unknown, knowing the unknown. There's a significant change happening. And yeah, it's about acknowledging the in between, acknowledging that you don't know what's going to be on the other side of the door, but you go anyways. You follow your intuition. And if you keep going, the path will reveal itself. You don't just walk and suddenly become blind. You walk and you can see through the things that really didn't make sense before, because it's like you have a spotlight in front of you. You can't It's not a floodlight that makes it so you can see like miles ahead of you. It's just a little flashlight. It's your light, and that's enough for you to see the way. Enough. You were born enough. I feel like I don't even want to elaborate on that, but I will. It feels like there's almost this feeling that you are comfortable in the darkness, like you are comfortable because um it's familiar. And I feel like maybe you are afraid to step forward. You're afraid to step into your power because it's like you don't even know who that is. You don't know what it's like to say no and to honor your body and to really feel in control when you're moving into unknown territory. It kind of feels like, and that's not to say that you aren't powerful right now, but it feels like you aren't used to who you are stepping into, and so it feels scary. It feels, nerve-wracking to know that you are, 1, saying goodbye to versions of yourself that you've grown really accustomed to and feel safe inside of, even if they hurt, and 2, that it's it's like it's hard to feel confident when you don't know how you're gonna react to certain situations or how you're going to make other people feel. And again, that hypervigilance, that feeling of needing to constantly assess. Maybe you are afraid to be this self-confident because you know that this kind of person doesn't overanalyze people the way that you are now, and what if you stop doing that and people don't like you anymore? And that is a heavy topic to feel inside yourself. And I would absolutely suggest journaling about it. It's not the case usually. There are really crappy people in this world that rely on your hypervigilance to feel good in the relationship, but I feel like the majority of your relationships are going to continue to thrive, and even more so because you're showing up as you. You are showing up and knowing that you are enough in the relationship. And and with that being said, it does also feel like if there are toxic relationships that you are able to leave, then do so now. As you're stepping into this next cycle, it's important that you do take with you only the things that really feel right for you. And if there are people that are like not encouraging you to get out of this feeling of shame in your body, of maybe they are demonizing sex, or demonizing your desires and the things that you want to express. Maybe you like dyeing your hair and they hate that, or like that kind of thing. And so it's like step outside of that, get as far away from that as you can. Sometimes it's not possible to leave a toxic relationship right away, and that's okay. I mean, it's not okay, but it's okay for you to acknowledge where you're at and how far you're willing to go. But your shadow work will provide that for you. Journaling about this, reflecting about everything that we've talked about in your reading. But the last thing I really want to leave you with is a life that's constructed from self-compromise will always shatter and crumble in the end. So the more that you say yes when you really say no, the more that you build this facade that you don't trust your body, that you don't trust yourself, you just kind of bend and shape yourself to match what other people are wanting, the more you create this space of inauthenticity, of this facade, and something that is extremely painful to exist in. It's painful. Um, but if you take the time to really love and acknowledge and accept and embrace who you are, I'm telling you, you will thrive in this next chapter. This tree or plant or whatever you want to envision for yourself planting, it will be the most beautiful, healthy, thriving piece of foliage that you've ever seen in your life. And you did that. You created it. You put it into your vortex and brought it to life. So, overall, group number 3, you are a powerful and wise being. You are gifted beyond your years. You are gifted spiritually and physically. It's okay to judge. It's okay to react in specific ways, but just know that you should keep an open mind and keep an open heart. Do your best to accept yourself, to accept others, and do your absolute best to say no when you really mean it. It's okay to say no and not sacrifice yourself. Do not build your life around self compromise. I love you. I wish you all of the best. I think that you are incredible and I loved your energy. I hope that you found clarity or guidance or some comfort at least from this reading. And I see you and I appreciate your energy in this world. Blessed be.